everybody else is the expert. Mom is the expert on her own child.
One of the experts you wish you hadn't trusted was starting school early.
Yeah, thinking the teacher is the expert when I'm the mom is the expert. I wanted you tested for some kind of disability. I knew there was something. I believe it was a second grade teacher, and she said, "Oh no, you don't want him tested. You don't want him labeled. So we can't test him. We don't want him tested." They didn't say we can't. They just said you don't want him tested. I found out later when I became a special ed teacher that it was several years later. I had a right to have you tested, and I think that was detrimental that you weren't tested, because I think you would have been identified with something, if nothing else. Social skills would have helped you a lot.
The school has to provide services if you get a label.
They do.
And so they discourage testing so that they don't have to do services.
And I don't know, that was the 90s, but I believe it was right back then too. And I was just told, and I just accept, I don't want him labeled.
You are listening to Dedicated Joe, the new dad's guide on the upending and transformational experience of becoming a father.
Very special guest today for my Mother's Day episode. I have my mother. Welcome to the show, Jackie Carr, aka Nana. So good to have you.
Good to be here.
I'm pretty sure you, besides my producer, you're the only one who's listened to every single Dedicated Joe episode.
I actually have. I love them.
That's pretty. You're my biggest fan. And you went to all my shows when I was a kid, and like every performance you make. So I guess it's similar to that. But
one time I sat through 32 productions.
32? Which show was that?
I believe it was New Theater, maybe.
Okay.
One of those, New Theater or something in Branson. I don't know.
32. That's crazy. So yes, wanted to have you on to discuss my childhood, what you learned as a mom, how you taught me how to parent, what you've learned from me, things like that. I know you're probably a little nervous.
Yes, first podcast.
Yes. Well, you get to be a guest on your favorite podcast, so that's fun. But yeah, let's start with me as a kid. Like, what was I like?
Oh, wow. That could be a podcast all by itself. But when you were really little, you've always been loud, rambunctious. When you're really little, I remember people saying, "That Joe, he's all boys," meaning that you were just busy, busy, busy all the time. As you got older, you were, the same thing. You were always really energetic, but full of personality, and but always sensitive too. You always cared about, at night you would pray for the whole world. You're always sensitive about other people and, how the world was doing and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's nice. What were some of the challenges? What was hard about raising me?
I think probably school was probably the hardest. Preschool, it started there. I think before that, we had such an unstructured life that we didn't realize there were even issues with you. But the teacher would say every day, "Joe had to sit on the bench for this or that."
Starting preschool.
Preschool.
I understood preschool.
Yeah, you were actually, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you were on the bench all the time. Grade school, every parent conference was the same. Bright, enthusiastic, but doesn't stay in his seat, can't pay attention, doesn't listen, doesn't follow directions, wants to do his own thing. And they saw those as problems. I actually saw them as a good thing for the most part.
Yeah.
But the teachers, that was, I think, just those challenges with teachers. I can count on a handful, probably the terrible teachers you had. You had mostly great teachers who really tried to work with you, but you had those few teachers that just didn't understand or didn't know what to do with you.
That's funny. I think of the opposite. I can only think of one teacher that I considered remotely decent.
So really?
We're all terrible. Yeah. So that's interesting.
So then when you got into middle school and high school, it was more, you were always just kind of toeing the line. You were almost always getting in trouble, but not quite. We did keep you out of jail.
Barely.
But for the most part, there was always a call from the school about something. Yeah. And usually, I remember your grade school principal saying, "I can handle Joe. He's just owns up to everything he does. Yeah, I hit her because she was doing this." So that kind of thing. But then in middle school too, I think they just didn't know what to do with you. I remember one time I think he was, I don't know what kind of officer he was, but he came and he said, "I have to tell Joe to take off his jewelry today. He had on one of these O'Reilly work shirts, and then he had made a necklace out of tools."
Yeah, sockets. That's right.
They made him take them off because they might be dangerous. When I thought it was creative. So,
But there before, so it was your challenge was mostly dealing with other people's challenges. Like you didn't see them as problems, but they did, and you were having to mitigate
I was always advocating.
their negative opinion or
I
whatever.
was always advocating for you. Yeah. And I saw as advocating. Your second grade teacher told me you're enabling him. And I thought about that a lot. And I tried to decide, am I enabling or am I just
Enabling to do what?
Well, I would come in and I say, well, this happened and this is how it affected him. And she's, oh, you're just enabling. And I really didn't understand enabling either. But she, I think teachers sometimes thought that I was too involved, maybe that I cared too much, but I just felt like somebody had to stick up for you. And somebody had to explain that you never meant anything harmful. It was either how you thought it was, or, but that was one of the best things I did too, was being involved, really closely involved in the school with the teachers, close communication with the teachers. We could get onto a problem pretty quickly once they came to me with it. Sometimes they waited a little too long to come to me with the problem, but once they did, we could work on it at home, and it seemed like that helped.
And there weren't before preschool though. There weren't challenges at home. Like I guess I sort of remember like breaking stuff or making messes or things like that.
I don't know. I had 2 kids under 2. Was, I even, you did things to your sister, but they weren't like you put peanuts in her mouth when she was 5 months old. You didn't mean to hurt her. You thought you were feeding her. You threw a toy into the plate, a tricycle actually, into the playpen with her. You just wanted her to play. It wasn't like you were trying to hurt her. And so I could see things like that. But yeah, you were a challenge. You were just so busy all the time. Just so it's just hard to just watch you all the time.
Yeah.
And I did, one of the things I'm glad I did was I came home, stopped working when your sister Ingrid was a baby. And I think that really helped a lot, was to be home. And you could have a more that relaxed atmosphere that you kind of needed to just roam and explore and, be yourself.
Did you have any kind of parenting philosophy? Did you think of yourself as having like a specific approach, or was it just kind of picking up as you went along?
We didn't know what we were doing. You tend to do sometimes what your parents did, but every kid's different. I thought we'd learned it all with you, and then your sister was different. And then I was also trying to run a business, and your dad was working. He was out of town a lot. So that made it, even harder. I was pretty much managing the whole household too. So I do remember times you wanted attention, and I'd set a timer and I'd say, give me 15 minutes. When the timer goes off, I'll play with you, and stuff like that.
You just figured that out.
Yeah.
That's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
What are things that you remember that you learned from your parents that you really tried to do? Like I think my parents did this right. I wanted to make sure that.
There's one thing I particularly remember. My dad was very big on being honest. He got in trouble. In fact, he got spanked, I guess, or whipped. I don't know what it was back then. But when the first time he lied, and he said he lied. Well, actually, he lied to stay out of trouble. And he was just a little kid. I don't think he was even in school yet, but he remembered it so much he taught it to us. And he said, if you tell the truth, I will not punish you. I want the truth. If you lie, that's what you will get punished for, is lying. So that's one thing that I remember.
that you were, and as you said in school, I didn't lie. Like it wasn't.
No, you were very truthful, and it got you in trouble sometimes, but they appreciated that you were truthful.
Yeah, so it's an autistic thing too, I think, to not be naturally good at lying. Like the truth is just how it is. And
that could be, yeah.
Della seems to be very honest as well, like not ever really.
Yeah.
She'll also be up. I did eat all 6 of those candy wrappers. Those candies, like she'll tell us. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, I was raised in a family of 9 kids in 11 years. My parents went to work by the time I was 10 or 11, both of them. So I was pretty much took care of the younger brothers and sisters and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's a lot of discipline, but most of the discipline was just trying to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
And we lived on a farm, so that helped. We lived out in the country. We pretty much just played with each other.
Yeah. And so what is something that you tried to do different than your parents?
I do remember, this is kind of funny, but you had a pacifier. And my mom said, I wouldn't give him that pacifier, are you? And I just ignored her because, when you have babies, everybody gives you their advice, and you needed the pacifier. And I had read and done my research that kids need to suck. And so you had a pacifier. And luckily, both of you kids, it was not really hard to break you from the pacifier at a, baby age or whatever. But that's one thing I remember. I think just trying to let you be kids.
Mhm.
And when you got to grandma's, I kind of relaxed the rules. You could do things that grandma's couldn't do at our house. Like you could have treats.
So those are things that you were like in the real time, but was there anything like that you remember of the way she or your dad raised you that you were like, that was not good. I'm not going to do that. And you're
Well,
do this to
in the early days, spanking was still a thing. I never don't remember spanking, or I stopped very young. I might have done a swat here or there, but that was one thing.
that was on purpose.
And even my
Like,
parents
right?
stopped spanking by the time I was 5 or 6.
That was an intentional decision, like you.
Yeah, that was intentional. I was not going to hit because I didn't want to teach you to hit. And I felt like when you hit a kid, then you're teaching them to hit. I don't know. That's just what I thought.
The data proves that. So you've figured that intuitively, but yes, the data says that's what it does. It doesn't actually change behavior, but it does teach violence, which is
Yeah. So just and then at dinner time we were allowed to ask and talk about whatever we wanted to talk. And my family they had scheduled meal times for everything, as long as I can remember. And I tried to have mealtime. When you got into middle school and high school and you had all these activities, it got a lot harder to have a mealtime. But that was something I tried to do too.
I remember a lot of family dinners, and we still have the family dinner tradition with us. Serenity did not have family dinners ever. So it's a struggle for her actually still to understand why I really want us to eat dinner together. But she does it, and she admits that she likes it. So yeah, we have no phones, and it's not every night, but it's a lot of nights, probably 3 or 4 nights a week at least that we're all together. So that's a nice tradition we've continued.
Good.
Yeah. What are some things you wish you would have done differently in hindsight?
The first one is don't believe everybody else is the expert. Mom is the expert on her own child. And it starts way back when I didn't think you were ready for kindergarten. You were a little young to start with. I took you to be tested just to see. First thing you do is crawl under the table. And that should have been a clue. And then they asked you, well, what are shoes made of? For some reason, I remember all this. And you said Velcro and cloth. And they go, he's so bright, he has to start school. It will be a disservice if you don't put him in school. So I started in kindergarten, even a little young. And he did okay in kindergarten, but first grade, it was just a disaster. He was failing. He just couldn't, he still needed a nap. He still needed to play. And about September, October, I went to the principal, actually, after I did some research. And back then there's no internet, but I had to get books. And I read that a child, if they're too young, will be a follower instead of a leader. If they're older, they're actually more of a leader. And the fact that he's young and he is not ready, and I know he's not ready. I asked the principal if we could put him back to kindergarten. And he did. He said, you know what, I'm a middle school teacher. And that I think that's where it would show up as middle school. And so we put you back to kindergarten for another year. And I thought kids would tease you, but they actually thought you were very lucky to get to go back to kindergarten.
Oh yeah, half day of school. Yeah, you're like,
yeah, and it did help. Now you're by no means too mature, even for middle school when you got there. But I can't imagine if you'd been a year younger, how much more disaster that would have been. So that's the first thing: is mom's the expert. Trust yourself. Trust yourself that if you don't think a kid is ready, or if you don't think something's right, then pursue it. I pursued that something's going on with this kid that I don't like. He's different than the other kids. I sat in on class. I did lots of things to try to figure out what's going on with him. I took him to, I guess I probably did take it to a couple doctors too.
Yeah.
And someone finally determined that you were ADD. And so we went with that. In fact,
that's the only diagnosis.
By that time, it was second grade. And I do remember for you, it was quite a relief because you thought, I'm not a bad kid after all. You thought you were a bad kid. And you found out that this is something medical. I have to learn to live with it, but it's medical and it's not all my fault. And I think that helped. And so we just dealt with what we thought was ADD the rest of your life. And I think about middle school, we took you off medicine because it wasn't helping. And
I was like, I was like emotional, I think.
Yeah. And you just said, I don't want to take it anymore. And I said, okay, you're in charge of your behavior.
How long did I take it?
You took it from about second grade to probably 6th grade.
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
And then, I also think you would have started selling it.
I don't remember taking it that long.
Yeah.
But like you said, it didn't seem to change my behavior all that much. Like I was still continually.
Yeah. It didn't seem to even help that much. So I was kind of the same way. But when I said you're in charge of your own behavior, you did kind of take charge of that. You talk about in middle school a lot, this girl that helped you with social issues. Now, I didn't know a lot of what went on. I had no clue actually for all the things that were happening at school. I just got involved when I got called, or when you came home and told me something very serious, like you said, the teacher pulled your ears, and I wrote the teacher a note, and she said, I didn't do that, but she didn't do it anymore. So whether she did it or not, I don't know.
I didn't lie, so
But
probably she.
I think she did it. And I
Yeah.
just think she didn't, she didn't want anybody to know she did, but at least
course.
she didn't do it anymore. But as you got older, I also found the more I get involved, the more they can take it out on you in school. So I had to be careful. I remember going to a math teacher in high school, and actually your sister was in the same class. We talked to the teacher because he wasn't giving you back your papers, and then you're taking a test not knowing if any questions were right or the answers were right. And then the next day he came to you and he said, don't you ever go over my head again, or you'll be so sorry, or something like that.
Mhm.
So then I learned that, you can't even do that. And he should have never done that, and I should have reported that, but I didn't, for fear that there'd be worse ramifications, because you had to be in his class the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So then what did you do? You learned to copy off your sister?
So I don't even remember. I found a way. Makes sense. And so you would have so one of the experts you wish you hadn't trusted was starting school early.
Yeah, thinking the teacher is the expert when I'm the mom is the expert. Trusting. Oh, the second thing was I wanted you tested. I wanted you tested for some kind of disability. I knew there was something. And I believe it was a second grade teacher, and she said, oh no, you don't want him tested. You don't want him labeled. So we can't test him. We don't want him tested. They didn't say we can't. They just said you don't want him tested. I found out later when I became a special ed teacher, that it was several years later, I had a right to have you tested. And I think that was detrimental that you weren't tested, because I think you would have been identified with something, if nothing else, social skills would have helped you a lot.
The school has to provide services if you get a label.
They do.
And so they discourage testing so that they don't have to do services.
And I don't know, that was the 90s,
Yeah.
but I believe it was right back then too. And I was just told, and I just accepted that I don't want him labeled. And when I should have, now I want every parent to know that if you think anything's wrong, all you have to do is ask to have that child tested, and they have to test them. And within a very short period of time, I think it's within a month. And so I just want other people.
And the label is really the opportunity to have the right services, the right support.
Right.
Every kid's a little bit different. So I think every kid should have an IEP, individual learning plan, because every kid's different.
That's true.
So if you get a diagnosis that shows the specific way your kid's different, like, it's much better, actually. Like that, it's not a label. It's free. It's freeing. It's like, oh, now I know this is a part of who I am.
Yeah.
But did you ever consider homeschool?
I did, especially when you're in middle school and you wouldn't do your algebra. And that was another time that I did try to advocate for you. You were in an algebra class. It was too crowded. They took you out because they went back to testing of all things. And your test scores were a little lower than everybody else's in math, which was not your favorite subject. And you had been forced to test in one day because you had missed the day of testing. Anyway, long story short, they wouldn't put you in the algebra class. They put you back to the teacher that was really the one that pulled your ear, actually. And that was one time that I really considered homeschooling.
Because you wanted to move me faster.
Yeah, you do better when you're challenged, and you were bored with math. You needed the algebra, and they need to have algebra in 8th grade because they start at a higher level in high school. You got to high school, and it was detrimental through high school. It put you behind every year in algebra or in math in high school because you didn't have algebra.
And I was in the same class as my younger sister, as you said.
Yeah.
But that was the only time, was just academically, or?
Academically, mostly. Well, no, the cruelty of teachers, especially your 3rd grade experience. And I pulled you out of school that time, put you in another school because it was so bad. But she had allowed kids to tease you to the point that you refused to go to school until I didn't understand how bad it was. And then she really didn't change. And so that's when I learned that a teacher should stand in front of the class and say, I will not tolerate anybody teasing or hurting anybody else's feelings. And when I told the teacher that, she said, oh, but I can't bring it to their attention. It'll just get worse. And so she didn't understand, and she never changed her ways. And so she just didn't understand that as a teacher, it's her responsibility to stop that, not to allow it. So anyway, those things like that was the reason I considered it. But the reason I didn't was because when I tried to work with you, it was really hard. I'm not very structured. I'm not very consistent. I was busy too. I actually needed you to be at school so that I was running the whole house, and your dad traveled a lot, and I had to just do all stuff at the house, and besides running my business, and so all those reasons I just chose them. And I also, maybe this was a mistake on my part, but I thought you needed to develop social skills. I thought that's what you were doing at school, and it wasn't. Now that I look back.
You thought that intuitively, or someone told you that?
No, I think intuitively I thought he's got to learn how to get along with people because he's going to have to do that the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that's what was happening. Also, homeschooling wasn't big like it is now. Now there's a support group and there's social things and stuff like that that you can take the kids to. But back in the 90s, homeschooling was not, it was basically, it wasn't even approved of hardly.
Yeah.
So that was another reason I just didn't quite even know how to do it.
Yeah.
So
to do it again, would you have done that anyway? What do you think?
I definitely would have maybe tried to find a more supportive school. We thought we couldn't afford private school, but I think in the long run, it might have been better. But I think at least the private schools around me that I knew of were actually more academically.
They were worse. Yeah.
They were worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could get kicked out for anything.
Right.
Whereas the public school kind of tried to learn how to work with you. And
yeah, it would have needed to be something like Della school.
And they didn't have the special help. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't exist back then.
When you got in high school, I remember going to the gifted teacher and I said, he's not identified, but I have learned that he's very bright and they look at his test scores and that could he possibly be put in your classes because he tends to behave as well as the other kids. And the gifted kids, yeah, they can misbehave, but they know when to stop. And he plays on that and he will respond to that. And she accepted him, Miss Turpin. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the best things I did.
Yeah.
And so thankful she took you.
Yeah.
Because she was a big help, wasn't she? I mean,
yeah, the gifted program was at least challenged me more, like had a little bit more individualized attention, a little less like blanket, just crowd control. Yeah, and it wasn't but a few years later that you couldn't even get in a class unless you were identified gifted. But like I said, I tried to have you tested and they wouldn't test you. So that wasn't identified because they never tested it. I didn't fail the gifted test.
They did test you once at the end of first grade or something like that. And you tested 95% or something ridiculously high. And they said, well, in this school, he has to test 96%. But if he was over at a different elementary school where there's lower level kids, I guess, he would be identified as gifted. So that was what I was told when you didn't get in the gifted program.
Crazy.
I wasn't willing to change schools to that school just so you could be in the gifted program.
What are other things you feel like you did really right? Like
what I did really right. Yeah. First thing I did, I think, was unconditional love. I just always knew there was something good in you, and there was always you're going to be great somehow.
Yeah,
I just always knew that.
I definitely felt that and felt like, empowered to try things, do things.
Yeah,
I was always safe.
And truthfully, people genuinely liked you. You were just delightful as far as your conversations with people were very grown up. You were very articulate. You had very high vocabulary, all these things that made people interested in you if you didn't wear them down. Sometimes that happened. But I think what I did, the most important thing I feel like I did was find the outlet for you of drama, theater, music, dance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
But we tried sports. You were just a detriment to sports. So then we tried, I don't know, some teacher said, Joe can sing. And I didn't even know it. I think you were first grade. And from then on, we just got you into whatever we could find. Summer theater, ended up being community theater, school theater, even professional theater, and even commercials. At some point, you were doing all those things. And it was a really good outlet for you. And I was glad that the second decision I made was to be a stay-at-home mom so that I could be available to get you to all those things and to be at home after school. I think it's so important for a parent to be at home when the kids come home from school.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed even driving you guys to and from school because we talked about everything in those drives. And by dinner time, you didn't really want to talk about it anymore to Dad or whatever. And so those talks in the car were very important.
Yeah, all the work you did to get me in theater was critical. I mean, my self-esteem was so low, as you're saying. I thought I was a bad kid. And having that, having something I could do really well at, that I was accepted in, that I felt that I could excel in, I was at home on stage, and that was critical. And I think for any autistic kid, I think that's so important that whatever they are really good at, that they get to do a lot of that, because there's so many things we're not good at. And the world tells us we're stupid or whatever, because we can't do math or whatever it is. And so that was really important. You spent a lot. I mean, it was like a huge amount of your life
It was,
Theater
it
stuff.
became my life, but your sister, luckily, especially in high school, middle school, she enjoyed theater also. It would have been a lot harder if she'd done sports and I had to go two different directions
Yeah.
because, again, your dad was gone so much. But it just became my life. I was involved in whatever you were involved in. I was involved in your theater. I started the theater parent group, actually, that still exists today. Center Stage, I think it's called.
Did you start that?
I started it, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so, just anything you guys were doing, you and your sister, that was my life. And I remember somebody asking me one time, what do you like to do? And I go, I like to do whatever my kids are doing. So that just was my life. And it still is. I still love doing what my kids are doing and being involved in their life and your sister's life. And so,
Full-time Nana.
yeah.
Yeah,
Full-time
stay-at-home Nana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you also really taught us to host.
Oh,
We were hosts. Like everybody was always at our house.
that's true. I forgot about that. I didn't mind mess. I still don't. And so all the projects took place at our house. There'd be papers and scissors and stuff all over the place. We had a trampoline, which I remember was, they didn't jump on it. I remember, especially in middle school and high school, you guys would sit and certainly
Hang out on it.
and it would be bowed so low, I thought it was going to bust. But that was, our house was the hangout, and I loved that too. And then, of course, I started substitute teaching in your school when you were in middle school. And that was great because then I knew all the kids, I knew all the parents. It was a very small school, 700 kids in the high school.
Where did you learn to be a great host? Because you talked about you could not have people over here.
No, yeah, we lived way out in the country. My parents worked.
9 brothers and sisters.
Until I was in high school, didn't even have a bathroom. So our house was like a 4-room shack until I was in high school. But yeah, so I don't know, except that I just loved it. I loved knowing where my kid was. And so if I have to have him at my house, that's great. And so I would provide food. I made sure there was food all the time. I made sure that, and I tried when you had parties. I don't know if you realize that, but every half an hour I'd bring food just to check on everybody.
That was the way you
Trying to stay out of the way, but want to make sure nothing bad's going on at our house. I do remember having to put a lock on the beer refrigerator when you're in high school.
Yep.
Because here I was, a substitute teacher at the school. And if they heard Miss Carr's, we get beer at Miss Carr's house, then that would have been really bad. And so we made sure we put a lock on the lid.
That was the main reasons you didn't want the reputation for serving beer.
Well, yeah, I mean, can you imagine if somebody reported that the teachers let us have beer at our house?
But you weren't that worried about us drinking beer. You just
no. I mean, my
parents
allowed my brothers to have a little juice glass of it here and there. I never liked beer, so I'm glad. And I didn't know if you guys would. We were very careful about that stuff. Very careful to have a safe home where kids could come and not get into things they're not supposed to have. And so I hope I was.
We were always around, so that to help that. But yeah, I mean, I just remember tons and tons of parties. I mean,
just people
for no reason, like, oh, it's Friday, we're going to Joe's house, Joe and Amy's house. And like in high school, but also in middle school, when I first got friends, that was one of the things that I think built my social network, was becoming the place all the kids came to gather.
Yeah.
And I think if the other moms just didn't want that.
Yeah, and I
you wouldn't want your kids in their house all the time.
Thinking back to one of the good things I did right was we pulled you out of the public school and put you in a magnet school, a performing arts magnet school, and it was far away and it was not convenient. But for your middle school years, it was great. I feel like you got I don't know how much academics you got, but you got theater and arts that you liked, and your sister got the arts that she liked, and I think that was a good experience for you for the most part.
The social skills. Being around kids who were also a little different.
Artsy kids, yeah.
Yeah, they were like open-minded and were not as like jocks or preps or whatever. Like there was like the alternative kids and the skater kids and the theater kids, and that was I was more accepted in that group.
And then you were going to go to the performing arts high school. We had you enrolled, we had you accepted, and then we got a letter like right before school started, and it said you're going to this other school, and we're like, there's no way he's going to that school.
Yeah.
And so a few calls, and they just said, we can't change it. I said, okay, you're going back to our local school. And I do think that was the best thing that ever happened, because now your friends were 15 minutes away instead of 30 or 45 minutes away, because the magnet school, they came from all over the city, whereas now we were in our own district. Small high school. You were able to excel in drama and debate. You're the lead on almost every show. And I loved it because every day after school you were rehearsing. I knew where you were.
I was able to be a bigger fish in a small pond. It was a very small school.
Yeah,
and I found my alternative, like counterculture kids that I could be a part of or be the leader of, and the theater being really critical for that. But, so what have you've been listening to podcasts? What are some things you've
Podcast. Yeah.
learned or surprised you about?
Well, some things I learned.
Yeah.
I learned something from every one of them, actually. But some things that stick in my mind is the Girl Dads one, where she talked about the women's hormones and men have hormones. I'm not sure I knew that. I used to always suspected it. And then the fact that the dad should take his daughter with him when he does to do, even if she's going to the hardware store, take her with him. Don't just say, oh, she's a girl, she is not interested in that. I think, and I believe your dad was, I do think he was a pretty good dad for that kind of stuff. He helping you guys. I remember all the school floats that we had, and he would help build the floats, and he knew all the engineering type of stuff to that, and he could provide the trailer. And so anyway, that was a good thing. But so doing that, taking her with him and just doing things with her that he would normally do in his life.
Yeah. He did that kind of intuitively. He would teach her things, and she was more interested in the mechanics.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I was.
Let me see that. Oh, that no one gets it right 100%. That was actually comforting.
Yeah.
Because we all are just winging it. I used to tell you, and I think you believed it, that's in the parent manual.
Oh, yeah.
There was no manual.
No manual.
But we would tell you, you'd say, why? And I'd go, because it's in the parent manual. I don't even know where I came up with that.
Just as a reason.
And I'm glad you never asked to see the parent manual.
Yeah. Anything that surprised you about me or my past or that I've talked about that you're like, oh, I didn't know about that?
Yeah. I loved hearing about Della's birth, first of all, because she came early and you guys, and I was a teacher. I remember getting the call that you're at the hospital. I'm standing in my driveway with a moving truck, moving into my house, starting school the next day. And as a teacher, you have to be there. So I didn't get to be there for the birth or even her first couple of months. I think it was a couple of months before I could find the time. So hearing that, I had no idea how traumatic it was for you to be older parents, first of all, and trying to start your business. You know, she was born the day your business launched. So trying to run a business with no money. I mean, you didn't have the money back then because you were trying to start a business.
Yeah.
And so how you ever, and you didn't have much help. I think her mother came finally a little bit.
Yeah, her sister helped,
but
not much.
I felt so bad that I couldn't be there. So hearing that story was enlightening, and you know how you have overcome so much. I just always surprised how you never cease to amaze me, actually. How much you've overcome, how much more you do, how much you get accomplished. It's just more than my wildest dreams. I've told people this before, but your middle school teachers especially, we sit in the conference and we say, we can't wait to see what he does when he grows up, because they, for the most part, were pretty supportive. And here you are, but you're way beyond what I could have dreamed. So that's
Early baby food executive was what they never would have expected.
Yeah, but the other thing that surprises me was the punishment and shame. I didn't realize how much that affected you and how much shame it caused you. You know, we thought we were doing, trying to teach you to be a good person. Don't do that again. Be kind to people. But I don't think we ever meant to cause shame. I think we didn't realize that was happening. And I think that probably happened more at school, probably when teachers were disciplining or the principal or things that maybe I'm not even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's the thing that's one of the surprises is that I've learned.
Punishment it always causes a little bit of shame. That's kind of its goal, right? To feel bad about yourself, do something to feel bad about yourself. But yeah, I think you're probably right that you had the unconditional love mixed with it. So there, at least I got both of those. And at school, I didn't have that. It was like very conditional love or not love at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so constant. Like it was just like I'd be done with one punishment and then on to the next, like all the time.
Yeah, we always do. When Joe's around, there's chaos.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't realize when I'd send you to stay with the aunts that things were happening over there too that weren't always.
Oh yeah, she was challenging for sure.
Yeah. So,
yeah. What have you learned about parenting from you're very involved with Della?
Yeah.
Come and stay with us at least 2 weeks out of every 6 weeks, about a third of the time you live with us, which is a real blessing. You were just finishing up a big batch of bone broth right before we're recording here. And so you parent Della a lot, you're with Della a lot, and we, have our the very intentional parenting style, as everybody knows. And so, what are things that you've learned from us around how to parent?
Well, I do try to, even though I'm glad you let me relax a little bit and be grandma, and um, but I do try to do whatever you guys want me to do and don't want her to do. One thing I do is I think I'm a lot more patient than I was with you, and I sit and talk with her. You know, we talk about everything and how it makes me feel. You've taught me how to say that makes me feel uncomfortable when you do that, when you're on the edge of the pool. And she says, I'm not going to fall in, but it makes me uncomfortable to watch her being on the edge of the pool.
Yeah, instead of
It's
saying
like
that's
that.
dangerous, and she can be like,
Yeah, but you
dangerous
could
or
fall
anything like
in.
that. It's not that it's dangerous. I don't like it. If you just
Yeah,
do it.
makes me nervous.
Yeah.
So talking about it, I think that those are the main differences.
Like taking the time to talk through a boundary or a reason for something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just glad that I get to be so involved with her and know her probably as well as my own child. And that I think that's the best part of my life, that I not only get to be involved in your lives by staying lengthy periods of time, but also in my daughter's life too, with the same situation where we have purchased a house together and I live in the basement, but I'm there, you know, around them a lot and around the grandchild a lot.
And they both just absolutely adore you. I mean, Della and Patrick both are just anything with Nana, any time spent with Nana, you know, Nana's coming, so excited. Like they have.
I know she gets up at 6 in the morning or something.
Yeah, excited to see you, like probably as much as us. Like I don't. Was there a period of time where we thought she might have liked you better than us? But at least at this time, it's like, okay, we're going out. You're single dad. Okay.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
doesn't care.
I'm glad that gives you the comfort that you can go out of town and know that she's being taken care of, someone that follows your rules, and for the most part, and that she's safe, and that you know that I can, you know, that if something goes wrong, I can make decisions that would be safe or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's one of the rules that's hard for you to follow? What's the one you hate the most?
I think it's the screen. You know, early in the morning she wants TV, and it's just a fight. I know it's a fight. It's a fight with all kids. It just is. It has to be the biggest battle of parents there is, and even in my house in Kansas City, also, it's the biggest battle. There's limits, but getting them to keep those limits, finding other things for them to do. But that's what I love. I love doing art projects with her. I love finding other things to do so she doesn't feel like she needs the screen.
Yeah.
And
Are you able to do that with Patrick too? Are you able to find other stuff, or is he not as easy?
There's, you know, they've actually put parental controls now, which helps a lot. And but it's still a battle all the time, it seems like. They just want it. But they'll do other things to turn it off. And that's what we want, is we want them using their brains and their art skills and playing creatively and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
what are your favorite things about me as a dad? Like, what do you like to see?
I love seeing you play with her. Your dad was decent at playing with you. You know, he did Legos and he helped you build things when he was home. He was good at that. But the way you play what she wants to play, I think it's very hard. I know when I try to play like she wants to play, she has to tell me my lines because I don't know my lines.
Yeah. She tells me the lines too.
But you get down on the floor and you play whatever it is she wants to play, and you do it daily. You almost, I think I see you at least twice a day, in the mornings before school, sometimes in the evenings or at dinner or before whatever, but you're always playing with her. And I think that's what I love the most. I also like how you talk to her a lot. And I find myself doing this too, but we apologize to her a lot because she's very sensitive and she'll take things not how we meant them. And then we have to apologize and explain we didn't mean to hurt your feelings. But I don't think we apologize to you.
I was going to ask you that because we apologize still probably every day because we make mistakes. It's just like, so we're winging it. So it's easy to make mistakes. You make a mistake, you apologize. And I don't remember ever being apologized to by any adult.
Yeah,
ever.
I don't know. I do remember one time the principal apologized to you. It was one of these things where you were in grade school. You elbowed a kid, and so you got sent to the office. It turned out that he had taken the ball from you or something. You didn't tell the principal that he'd taken that the kid had started it. when I went to the principal and we brought you in and we told the whole story again, and he goes, Joe, tell me that. If you would have told me that, then it would have been different. I'm really sorry. I do remember him saying that. So I really liked that principal for the most part. So,
Yeah.
but he was,
often.
yeah, he was the one
And-
also that told me that he can deal with you because you're honest. You don't try to deny it. And then he just, tells you what to do next time and sends you on your way. And so, so yeah, but yeah, I just don't think I don't think adults did apologize. And there was the, well, you don't have to do this because I said so. And I hope I never said that to you. I may have.
Dad definitely did.
But maybe the parent manual's what I used instead.
Yeah, it's sort of the same idea. Yeah. But...
And we tried to find, I do remember trying to find punishments to fit the crime, especially when you got older or something that worked for you. I remember we took the phone one time, or no, we grounded you, but we let you have the phone. I felt like you needed somebody to talk to. So we let you have the phone. And you could go places. We would take your car keys for a couple of days, or we'd give you a choice. Do you remember this story? You did something and we took your car keys and we said, or you can clean all the kitchen cupboards. So you invited a friend over and she was helping you.
My memory is I made that deal. I said, hey,
well, maybe
using my car doesn't benefit you at all. What if I clean a room at the house for every day and get my car back? And then I had my girlfriend to come and help me.
She did.
And then we could go and make out or whatever.
But then,
so that was like the.
But then after, I don't know, a couple of cupboards or whatever, you go, you can have my car. This is too hard. So that's what I remember is that you finally decided it was easier for us to take your car. We didn't take it very long. I do remember one time we went out of town and left you and we disabled the car so that you couldn't sneak and go. And I think you probably did try, but we disabled the car so you couldn't go anywhere because the deal was you had to stay home.
I had to find out from Dad how he did that. There's some secret way he disabled the car that was impossible because I knew enough about cars. If you pull the spark plug, I could put that back on. But like, there was, he told me there was some secret way you can do it that nobody will ever figure out. I should learn that just in case I ever need to disable a car, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think you did enough good things in your life that just kept us always, just hoping that you're going to be great someday. And I remember your dad used to say, so have you made your first million? Remember he used to say that all the time? He used to say that all the time.
Really? That's funny. That's funny. I did send him a screenshot of my bank account, the first million I made. I guess I unconsciously remembered that.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was joking, but it also it was that prediction that was when you say something, you believe it. I don't know.
I guess so. I'll ask him about that because it's funny that he was one of the first I sent it to. So
I remember when you were 3, he was working on the car and he said, don't touch these parts. And of course you tipped it over and spilled all. And you go, but Dad, it wasn't stable.
Yeah.
And so he would talk to you like an engineer.
Yeah.
When you were like 1, and I go, honey, he doesn't know what you're saying. And he goes, well, I'm telling him anyway. And he did. He talked to you like an engineer all the time. And I believe it went in that brain somewhere.
It's good to talk to babies like adults. Like
yes, and I think
explain stuff to them, tell them things that really does go in.
Yes.
Become part of their.
Yeah. So those things we accidentally do as parents.
Intuitive is actually intuitive. You just follow your intuition. So.
Yeah, but you do that with Della. You use big words. You use adult. She talks about the climax of a story. This book, this story, this movie, it's almost to the climax. I mean, just things like that. So
the rising action.
The rising action. She just the things she knows.
I think this is the resolution.
She's not even out of first grade.
She likes to write stories, so I've been explaining.
Yeah, she understands
diagramming of stories. Yeah,
she understands feelings very well. She understands just so many things because you talk to her. And if she doesn't understand, she says, "What's that word?" And we tell her. And so I think that might be why she has such a great vocabulary.
Yeah. Has your relationship with feelings? We talk a lot about feelings, and feelings are, big, important. Have you learned more about that or changed your relationship with feelings at all? You're watching us or
just talking about them, I guess. I think I still avoid things that will make me emotional. I just don't like to get emotional. And so I just avoid those things a lot.
You're still uncomfortable having bigger feelings.
Yeah, especially in front of people.
Do you think that comes from your parents? Were they stoic and?
No, I have to admit, my parents let us cry. They let the boys cry. They never said, stop crying, you're a boy. That was something you just brought up that I was always thankful that they let us cry. Hopefully, I do remember telling you, you'd be throwing a fit at dinner and we'd say, go to your room and come back happy. That was probably something we should have done because you talked about that on your podcast. But you'd come back up happy now. And we thought it helped to just get away for a moment. We didn't realize you were faking it so you could come back to dinner with us.
Or getting
Even
a
at that young
message
age,
that my feeling weren't welcome or something.
to the point that you remember that.
Yeah.
So it had to affect you enough that you remember that when you were probably two or three.
Yeah.
So
your parents let you cry but it's hard for you now to
it probably,
get triggered.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah.
You know, or it seems also with Della's feelings, sometimes it's hard for you to for her to have big feelings. Like you really want to give her what she wants or fix it somehow.
Yeah, and I did hold my grounds the other day, and she tried, but I held my grounds, and then she just got over it. So then I've learned that'll happen. That, like you said, she will eventually cave or give in or accept it.
Find a way to
They're
get
not gonna do it.
Find the compromise, accept the compromise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get her feelings out.
And it was one of those things that you would rather she not do. And so I was trying to honor that. But at the same time, I know she's even told me, you're a pushover, Nia. I can get what I want from you if I just try hard enough.
She does
So
it.
now that she knows that, and I know that she knows that, now I have to just be a little more cautious.
She's like, okay, yeah, it's true. She'll say that mommy's the best with boundaries. I'm less good, and that you're the worst. That's what she
I'm
would
actually a pushover.
Yes. Which for Nana, it's kind of not uncommon.
I mean, I'm glad that Nia's can do a little bit, you know, like if there's been a couple nights she's been terribly upset and I let her sleep in my bed. I mean, just things like that. And I'll say, this is the only night.
There's nothing wrong with that as long as you don't mind it.
No, I don't mind it, but I think we both sleep better when she's in her own bed.
Yeah.
But and she'll come in sometimes in the middle of the night and I let her stay because she, you know, it's easier for me to just move over than to try to get her back in a bunk bed. And
you know, she never does that with us. You're the only one she sleeps with. She never crawls on our bed. She never asks to sleep with us. Like it's
some kind of comfort for her.
Yeah,
it's fine. She actually sleeps later sometimes, I think. So
yeah, that's interesting. What kind of support you wish you had had from Dad?
Oh, well, I do wish to do it again. He hadn't traveled so much. And I wish he would have found a way not to travel so much. I think he thought he had to be in charge because he was the boss and everything was on his shoulders. It was construction. And so I had to pretty much ran the whole household. And we had a routine. And then when he came home, he would disrupt that routine. And it was I think you guys felt it too. And he would try to change the rules or we tried to change things. And then he would make rules that I didn't like. But I was supposed to enforce rules that he made. But he wasn't there to enforce. Those were hard. I think we did. I just accepted that he didn't help more around the house because what he did, he was fix it. It wasn't like he laid on the couch and was lazy. He was a fix it person and he did a lot. So I don't know that I resented that he didn't help more of the house.
You never felt it was unfair.
I felt, you know, when I went through the cancer, I wish he would have gone to more appointments with me. I wish he would have been more involved. But then I just accepted because I'm one of those people that I'm going to advocate for myself. And he did tell somebody that she's in charge. She's got it all under control. I really didn't, but I guess I gave that picture that I did. I wish I'd had more just support from him during that time.
Yeah. Did you tell him that? Did you ever ask him to come?
Not really, because I just kind of thought, well, his way of dealing with it is to dive into work.
Yeah.
I still think he traveled more than he needed to, especially during that time. And then I think also I didn't have the after cancer support that they have now. We both thought that the minute chemo was over, I'd have all my energy back, and it took almost a year.
Yeah.
And he didn't understand that. Why don't I have energy to go out and stay out late at night? And, you know, things like that. And so I think that's mostly where I would have liked the support. I do feel like he was really good with doing things with you that I didn't do, doing things with you guys, playing with you when they're little, working with you on mechanics. He never would work on your car unless you got out and helped with him, and I helped him with it. And I think you hated it because it was always 7 o'clock on Saturday morning or something.
No, I'm gonna work on my.
But you might be thankful now that you know how to do a few things. I don't know. Are you?
I mean, I'm grateful that I have this attitude that I could do it. That I like, if I want to do something, I could figure it out. There's nothing I can't do. I now choose not to do stuff. I don't like working on cars, so I don't work on my car anymore. But like I tried really hard to get somebody to fix this part of my boat, and like it was actually starting to be more of a pain to get somebody than to do it, and I just did it, and it was fast, and I was like, okay, it's fine. So I like that I can do it. So it's was probably good. He did work on Amy's car without her being there, so that was
Oh, I
fair.
think she had to get up too.
No, she would, and you know, so that was like a male female thing probably, or maybe just a second kid thing. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, but he did a lot of work on my cars as an adult that I wasn't there for. So as a kid, he insisted I learn, but then he did all kinds of stuff with the veggie oil cars and the truck and all that he did without me. So it wasn't that he didn't want to do it. It's just that he wanted me to learn. And there was probably some value in that.
Well, there's something else I love about how you run your marriage compared to how my marriage was run, if you're going to call it run. The fact that you and Serenity do the fair play, and you do so much to help. You're such an involved husband as well as dad. And I love that. And if you follow the fair play program, there's a lot of things that when you start getting enough money to pay people to do things, it's usually the nan's. You pay someone to do the lawn, you pay somebody to work on the car, the mom still has all these, and the mental load was something I hadn't thought of. I still had the mental load. Is he going to take out the trash? I know it's his job, but is he going to do it? And I mentioned to start taking out the trash because I got tired of hearing the trash truck and running out in my jammies with the trash. Things like that you just do so automatically, and you just the cooking and this is the things you do automatically to serve her. And I think it really helps your marriage. And I love that you both do couple therapy, whatever you call it. We call it counseling.
Coaching.
I think had we done more of that, we did do marriage weekends and a few things that probably helped us throughout the years and helped us stay together and work things out. But we didn't do regular counseling. And I think that would have been helpful, especially with him traveling. My hardest thing with him traveling was if there was an issue and he was home for a weekend, I was going to bring up something and have a fight. I wanted the weekend to be pleasant and him to feel appreciated and those kind of things. And so we just didn't talk about the tough things that we should have talked
It
about.
just got put off.
They got put off till it was out of control.
Yeah.
And at least you guys were raised and on your own. And so that helped.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think I definitely saw a lot of inequity there in the household and how much you did versus him and how much freedom he had versus you. And I was very committed to not being that way. And Serena and I have the same job. We literally both work full time for the same exact job. So there was no reason that it should be inequitable. So I was always very committed to that. And then Serenity didn't feel like it was equitable, even though I was trying my hardest for it to be equitable. And so the fair play model really was key to helping me learn what I didn't learn as a kid. You know, she was taught as a girl that all this is your responsibility, and I was taught it's not. And so like I had to learn it from scratch, and she had it built into her, as I'm sure you did as well. It's like 12, you were running the household, sounds like.
And I saw my mom run the household. My dad participated some, but he worked 2 jobs most of the time. We had a farm. His work was that. And so my mom did all the managing of the house and she worked too though.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, exactly. And there's just more than a full-time job's worth of work. So like even if he's full-time and she's full-time in the house, there's still more to do. So that's what fair play really helps figure that out. And then I think it also creates time that allows for that self-care and friends and unicorn space. And that's, one thing that I think you could use more of, probably more self-care, more time to do what you love.
I do feel like I have more time now. So
Yeah, but especially as we were kids, you probably were, it sounds like it was day and night.
Yeah. And I also think I was sad to get divorced after 32 years, but the life I have now where I can spend 3 weeks here, 3 weeks there, I don't know that I could do that for my husband because I feel like I really need to be there for the husband too. And so this gives me the life that I really enjoy, and it really helps you guys out and helps my daughter out. And so like
that he would have been a burden or just
feel the best of all
to serve instead of serving you was
yeah.
So that's kind of sad. Autistic parents, now that you know I'm autistic and you've done special ed and stuff, what advice do you give? I send some autistic parents to you sometimes.
Yeah.
What advice do you give for parents of autistic kids?
At least 3 things. One would be, if you think something's wrong, pursue it. don't listen if they say, "Ah, he's fine. He's just all boy. He's just, has a lot of energy." If you really feel like something's wrong, pursue it till you find out what it is, because it really helped us to have that diagnosis. Even if we didn't like the diagnosis, it helped knowing that he's not a bad kid. It's the fact that if there's something medically wrong or an issue that
Different.
they have to learn to live with it. Now that we know what it is, we can learn to live with it. We can work with it. That's the first thing I would say is pursue to try to get that diagnosis, try to get the school to do some kind of testing and get a diagnosis so he can get an IEP or get help, the special services he might need at school. That's first thing. The second thing is, as you said in your podcast, treat it as a gift. Don't treat it as a burden. It's a gift. It's a gift. That child is bright. That child is smart. That child is sensitive. And it's a gift. Yeah, if they don't like the seams on their clothes, let them wear the clothes inside out. I don't know. Just, find ways to teach them to live with it. We taught you to put your shoes in a certain place. We taught you to put your car keys. So we weren't always looking for shoes when it's time to go out the door. We just learned to live with it. That was back in what we thought your ADD, but all the same, it's the same thing. But what we did was, and then whatever they're interested in, go with it. Encourage it. Support it.
Yeah.
You loved to collect. I remember letting you collect stuff.
That's right. I was obsessed with. I
Whatever
collected.
you're interested in, we tried to support.
I had like 17 collections.
But especially for you, we found the outlet with the drama and the theater. But whatever that outlet is, a lot of kids, it might be sports. It might be computers even. It might be, who knows, whatever it is that your kid might be interested in.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. And then find support groups. I wish I'd had a support group. I had nobody. There was no internet back then. We had to, I got books. I read a lot of books. So
how did you find time to read books at all? What you just
I think because I was just desperate to figure you out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I ever did, but to support you, to make sure that you weren't always feeling like you were a bad person. So I just read all kinds of books, and I wish I could think of some of them.
I remember Spirited Child was the one you saw.
Spirited Child, yeah.
That's
so I determined that's what you were.
You referenced a lot to the
Yes, you were spirited. And I'm guessing that probably is, that now would be labeled an Asperger, autistic. Fortunately, you're high spectrum. You're right. And fortunately, you liked your good grades. So that helped you with school. We even tried to send you to a college where you could thrive, which we sent you to a very unique, different type of college. But you did thrive. So
it's great.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously did a lot right for very.
Yeah. I want to say one thing.
Oh, sure.
Close.
Yeah.
You wanted some things that I'm proud of. That you learned from me.
Yeah, that's right. What did I learn from you?
Well, first of all, unconditional love. I know you show that to everybody, and you show that to. But I feel like that's one thing that hopefully I gave you was unconditional love, no matter what. I'm going to love this child. And then that. What you do better than me, and my daughter does it too, is if you don't like something, you don't just complain like I do. I might say, "Oh, that's cool. They just don't do things right." No, you get on the school board. I love that. I love that you do whatever you can do to fix it or help it. You're on the state autism board. You go to congressmen and tell them what you need and what you don't like, and you actually offer solutions. But that's what I love about you. And I hope I don't know if I taught that, but I feel like you do it better. And that you just, if something's not right, you find a way to try to fix it and help. So
you talked about how you advocated.
That's what I like.
As soon as I complained to school, you'd go talk to the school, talk to the teacher. Yeah, so you did model that for sure. This like active, to change it.
This podcast is, I think, the same thing. You do voice to men. You do, Lord knows, you do probably a lot of organizations I'm not even well aware of, but it's all to help boys grow up to be better men, for men to be better dads, to better husbands. And there was that's one thing I learned from one of your real recent podcasts is how if fathers were more present or father figures, then we could solve a lot of the juvenile problems if they just had fathers. And so I feel like you're doing a lot to help with that. And even to see an example of your own kid, she'll grow up seeking hopefully a husband and a father like you are. And so,
yes.
So that makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, you've done a ton for me. Obviously, you did a lot right, and helped me get here. and still do so much. I mean, it's just hard to express gratitude for how much you do for us. Cerdy's always saying she won the mother-in-law jackpot, the mother-in-law lottery for great mother-in-laws, that all the service you provide, everything you come, and how much Della loves you, and all my parties. And it's just, just this last weekend, I mean, you did like 7 events or something in a row for
We did.
me, for Della, one after the next.
Cool.
Yep. And you like took a 20-minute nap and you were done. You're now back ready for the next thing. So yeah, so definitely model active. There's a lot we can accomplish, a lot of generosity. So really grateful for that. So we have a great Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us love on you. And yeah, really appreciate you coming on.
Okay, I loved it.
Yeah. I'll give you a hug. If you like this one, we referenced a few different episodes. I have Serenity, my wife, on. If you like seeing me talk to women in my life, we talk a lot about our relationship there, as well as the fair play model in that episode. I have an episode on how to raise an autistic kid, if the autism stuff resonated with you, and a whole episode on the fair play model and how much equality that's created in my relationship. So please share this with other dads in your life. Please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you hear podcasts. It really helps me reach more dads if you subscribe. So please click that subscribe button and drop in the comments something that you learned from your mom that you're really grateful for. Thanks so much, and stay dedicated. All right, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
We'll see how it went. Kitty was our audience.
You?
Yeah, that was awesome.
So I'll tell all my friends that I'm